throughout this course, there have been many different assignments regarding career tools that have helped me learn and change some of the things I've been doing. In the first week of this class, we learned about branding yourself, and which is how people view you, including your friends, employers, professionals, and this can be like through your CV, Googling your name, your social media, etc., and how it's important to market yourself and your brand. And after learning about this, I went through my social media and cleansed my old Facebook posts in middle school. I Googled my own name to make sure I'm branding myself in the way I want to be represented. I updated my LinkedIn with all the new jobs I've had in the medical field and experiences to help me brand myself for applying to medical school. Week 3, we learned about the difference between hard skills and soft skills, and how hard skills are more concrete and specific to a job and required to have that job, while soft skills are more interpersonal, like communication, and can be utilized throughout every job, and how you should have both. And for example, I learned how a hard skill I could put on my resume is how I know how to take vital signs, and I have an EMT license. But a soft skill would be I'm a Spanish major and I can speak an advanced level of Spanish. We also learned about the Holland Code that week, and I scored the highest in thinkers and doers and the lowest in creators. And one of the suggested careers for me was a dentist, which is pretty similar to what I'm pursuing. I think dental school has the same exact prereqs as medical school. It's kind of the same idea, just like a doctor for teeth. So that really helped solidify what I'm doing for me. It shows that the career I'm pursuing matches my personality and my scores on the Holland Code, which was encouraging. Week 4, we learned about handshake profiles and what you should include in it, and how to market yourself on it. So I actually didn't have a handshake profile before this class, and I made one. I learned how to demonstrate engagement and maximize my work experience on Handshake, and how to list my skills and everything. And I actually utilized Handshake to get a job. I applied to Scribe America to work as a medical scribe, and I got the position. So that's something really awesome I learned throughout this class. Week 5, we learned about networking and the informational interview that we did. This helped me think about how I was going to find someone in my field. I work at Temple Neurology, and I asked the doctors there if they knew any gynecologists, because that's a field that for now I'm really interested in going into. I know that this may change, but it's one of my interests right now. So I got in contact with an OBGYN about setting up an informational interview. And week 6, we did identify a position, which for me, I looked up different medical schools that I may want to go to. I did my assignment on Drexel, and Drexel appealed to me because they have a pass-fail system, which is important for me when I pick a medical school, because typically in undergrad, especially in the science classes, where professors will make the average a B and only a certain number of kids can get an A. People get very competitive with each other, and it's not very collaborative, and some kids will give each other wrong information so that they do worse on tests, which helps the curve. So I do want to pass-fail medical school because it fosters a more collaborative environment with the students. They also have online classes, online lectures for Drexel. All of the lectures the first 2 years are recorded and posted online, and attendance isn't required, which is important for me because I do tend to do a lot better when I can go back and rewatch lectures. It also helps me make my own schedule. With school being online right now, I can watch a lot of my classes whenever I want, because most of mine are recorded and posted on Zoom for me to watch on my own time, and I do really well in that kind of environment. In week 7, we learned about an elevator pitch and how to make one, and how what you should include in it, why you're connecting with whatever, it is you're applying for, like an internship or a school, and how you should include different skills you have and experiences. So in my elevator pitch, I talked about my like Spanish speaking ability, how I can take like vital signs and stuff like that. And then I talked about my different experiences working in different areas of the medical field as an undergrad. In week 8, we learned about different types of interviews, and one of those types was a behavioral interview, which is when you're judged based on how you react to different situations, and you're also asked about how you handled different situations in the past, which is a big component of medical school interviews. They'll ask you about how you handle different problems in the past, and how you would react to things in the future, because the medical field is just a bunch of teamwork and there's different roles, and you have to know like how to work in a team, and they evaluate how much of a team player you are and how you've worked with that in the past. I also learned how to dress to an interview. I've never had really like a super professional interview, and I know shoes is one thing that's like kind of hard to figure out what shoes to wear, and I learned it's good to wear like classic closed toe pumps that are maybe like 1.5 inches, 2 inches, and like that match your suit and are like leather or cloth. And then we learned about our personal statement the next week and like what we need to include. And this was really helpful for me because I have to write my personal statement and send it to medical school soon. I'd actually already written it, but this class, it offered me more opportunities to edit it and make sure it was really good. And it also taught me like what I should make sure I include in it, like my experiences in life and like how I've grown from that, and also how I should have a strong introduction, and relate it all back to like the big why you're applying for this position or this graduate program or medical school. Week 10, we learned about graduate schools, and did a lot of research on that, and a lot of the links that were and resources offered to search up different graduate schools also had different medical schools listed as well. So that was helpful for me to make a list of medical schools that I'm potentially interested in applying to. It also offered some resources on how to pay for graduate school and like different loans you can get and grants and stuff, which is very helpful because any kind of graduate school is a big financial burden sometimes. Week 11 was the informational interview, and I learned how to do an informational interview, and also I learned a lot from the OBGYN that I interviewed. I learned about basically the life of an OBGYN and how flexible their lifestyle is. Like some will work in a hospital setting like a couple 48-hour shifts sometimes, while others will work part-time in like a doctor's office just doing routine checks. And I thought it was interesting to learn how there's a lot you can do as an OBGYN with your work-life balance, and you can work in a hospital setting or like doctor's office, up to you kind of. And then last week we learned about experiential learning and how it's important, and how you learn by actually doing things, and it's much more active form of learning than passively like reading about it, which I thought was very interesting because I never really heard the term experiential learning, but it is a lot of what they do, I guess, in medical school, because the last 2 years you just pretty much have rotations, and that's how you learn. You don't have any lectures. So I thought it was really cool to learn about how it's like a deeper form of learning to get hands-on experience and learn that way rather than just reading it in a book.